What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. You're with Chris, and today I'll be wrapping up the month of August where I fell into and got out of a temporary reading slump. I hate when that happens. It is not a really good feeling at all, but now I'm pleased to say that I'm well and truly out of that dreaded slump, and I've known other reading slumps to take a lot longer to get out of, so I'm feeling a lot better about reading in general, and it's just a really good feeling to finally come out of it and get back to my normal reading habits as normal. But let's start how I always like to, with some basic statistics. Now, I have left off one item in these statistics for the average pages per day. I'm going to do away with that because I don't need to put that much pressure on myself. It used to be an average of about 100 pages per day, but it has declined in recent months due to tiredness and other things, so I'm not going to include that one. But what I am going to include is something a little bit different, and I'm going to include all the genres I read. So for the month of August, I read 2 thrillers, 1 fantasy, and 1 sci-fi. I think that's a little bit more interesting than the average pages read per day. The ratings for the books I read, I had 3 4.5-star ratings and 1 3.5-star rating, which wasn't too bad. Now, in terms of content, the videos I uploaded, including shorts, were 16, which was 7 down from July, so a little bit less productive there. The best performing video was my review for All the Colours of the Dark by Chris Whitaker, an absolutely fantastic book at 95 views at the time of filming this. And the poorest performer was Doctor Who and the Giant Robot review that I did about a week or so ago, which got 16 views, which surprised me actually, because I did think there would have been a little bit more popularity with Doctor Who content, which I wanted to trial on the channel before considering starting up a new Doctor Who book review channel just solely dedicated to book reviews of Doctor Who books. And I'm still on the fence about that one. The jury's still out. I did do a community poll asking you whether I should do another channel devoted to just Doctor Who book reviews, or just implement Doctor Who book reviews on the channel as per normal. And at the moment it's 50-50. So I'm going to leave the poll open for a bit longer for you to decide. I'm still on the fence about it. I'm not quite sure whether I would have time to put in the work for setting up a whole new channel. It is a big ask, and especially since I'm time poor these days, it may not be a good idea at the moment. It may work in the new year, I'm not sure, but we'll see how that goes. As for the books I read The Tennessee Killers by Jethro Wegener, a self-published author. This was the second book in his Duke Gibbs thriller series, which I really enjoyed, and I told him so. And he responded in an email to me telling me all about what book 3 is going to be about, and I'm going to be a beta reader for that one, which I'm delighted, because the Tennessee Killers was so much next level than his first book, and the first book was pretty good, but this one just went to a whole new level where the stakes were really high, and Duke Gibbs definitely gets hurt a lot in this one and goes right to the edge and gets beaten to within an inch of his life. And it was just a really good action-packed novel that I had a ball with, and I am a fan of the series now, and looking forward to book 3, because I have got an idea of what it's about, which I'm not going to tell you. You'll have to find out when I share the review with you when I get my hands on the book, which hopefully won't be too far away. I also read The Lost Metal by Brandon Sanderson, book 4 in the Mistborn Era 2 series, which I did like just fine. I didn't actually love it, and there were things about it with the pacing I think that I struggled with the most, but I think the climax was really good, and there were a couple of really satisfying character arcs there where the stories went. But I think the best thing about that book was all the Cosmere connections, because all the Cosmere related material really ramped up, and it was a lot more obvious than previous books. In previous books it's only hinted at very subtly, but I felt with The Lost Metal it actually became more obvious of how the Cosmere relates to Scadrial and things like that. So it did have its good points. But I did have an issue with the pacing, which didn't quite work for me, but for the most part the book was absolutely fine. I also read All the Colours of the Dark by Chris Whitaker, a really good read. I was captivated by the story. It was long, it was epic. The mystery of a local missing girl spans decades, and all the characters were very well rounded and very three-dimensional, and there were quite a few red herrings thrown in by the author to keep you guessing on who the murderer was, and in the end it's very shocking. The revelations towards the end were definitely worth the long haul through the book, because it isn't a short book at all. It does take a bit of commitment, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. And I haven't read Chris Whitaker before, but his writing style was sensational, and was definitely a standout for me. And I also read A Palate Cleanser, Doctor Who and the Giant Robot by Terrence Dicks, featuring the Fourth Doctor. I read this one for two reasons. One, I really want to start reading Doctor Who books next year, and I thought this would be a good way to prime myself for that, and I do have a few Doctor Who books set to be read in September. The other reason was trying to pick something very short and light in order to get out of this bloody reading slump I fell in, and reading slumps aren't fun, and I would describe it as a book depression, where you go for your next book, you try and get into it and you just can't. Nothing's working for you. It doesn't mean that the book isn't good, it's just your state of mind at the time, and nothing seems to work for you, and then you pick up something else and you don't want to read it and you're just not in the mood to read. And then I felt that picking up something like Doctor Who and the Giant Robot was just the thing I needed. So that was one contributing thing that got me out of my reading slump. The other was starting Patient Zero by Jonathan Mabry, but I haven't actually finished that one. I'm about a third of the way through. I have stopped that one for the minute, not for lack of enjoyment of the book, but only because the end of the month was coming pretty close, and I wanted to get an early jump on Ordinary Grace by William Kent Kruger, which is the book I'm reading at the moment, and at the time of filming this I have 30 pages to go and I am done, and I cannot wait to review this one on the channel. It's a fantastic book, and once I'm done with this one I will get back to Patient Zero, because it has been recommended to me by my good friend John over at Talking Story, and I do want to finish it because it is action-packed and should be a really good finish, I'm thinking, because the main character, Joe Ledger, is an absolute badass, and can't wait to see what happens there. And then once I've finished Patient Zero, I'll be straight into Tress of the Emerald Sea by Mr. Brandon Sanderson as I continue my Cosmere journey. So there you go. Now, highlights for the month. There's only one real highlight that I could mention, and that is the influx of subscribers that I'm actually getting. There were quite a few more subscribers this month, which is always welcome and very I appreciate that a lot, which is fantastic. I'm almost, at the time of filming this, I'm almost at 600 subscribers already, so I'm getting ever closer to that 1,000 subscriber mark. So it's going to be a good day when that actually happens. Now we come to my book of the month. Now, only 4 books read, so there weren't many to pick from, but there can be only one winner, and I decided that my book of the month is going to be All the Colours of the Dark by Chris Whitaker. It was a fantastic read. I was surprised with this one because after I read a book like this, I usually like to jump onto Goodreads and have a look on Booktube to see what people think about it, and I was surprised to learn that there were very divisive reactions to the book. Some people loved it, some people didn't like it, and I was in the majority of people that did actually really enjoy it, because there were emotional stakes. It hit me in the feels in many ways. It caused me to react emotionally with different events through the book. There was this mystery of this missing girl at the heart of the book that you just had to find out what happened, and you're kept guessing right until the end, and that's what I love in a book, to be kept guessing and not know what the ultimate resolution is until the end. And there was some earth-shattering reveals, and it was just an overall really good book, and I'm glad that it is my book of the month. Now, just before I finish up, a couple of very minor channel changes, or one minor channel change in particular. I felt in recent months that I've been saturating the channel with book reviews. Now, what I've been doing is reviewing everything I read. Okay, I'm going to rein that back a little bit because it takes a lot of time to review every single book I read, and I would rather focus on quality rather than quantity, because I don't need to put every book I read up as a review. I think what I'm going to concentrate on is major books, like a Cosmere book will be reviewed, late releases which people haven't read yet, and the odd Doctor Who book and that sort of thing. But anything else, if it's minor, like if it's a unpopular book like a James Patterson thriller, I'll probably mention it in passing in my weekly updates or monthly wrap-ups. So I'm going to rein that back a little bit and try and get other content sprinkled in between, just to even things out a little bit and give a bit more variety, rather than 6 reviews in a row, which I think happened in the last couple of months. There were 6 reviews all coming up in a row, and I feel that the value wasn't there, if that makes sense. So reading a book and reviewing it, it doesn't quite work, so I thought I'll just thin it out a little bit and spread it out. So there you go, guys. That is it for my monthly wrap-up for August. Thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Offer up any comments below, and I will promise to deliver the best content I can. But until the next video, guys, happy reading.